What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Aha. And since we finished going through the demo versions from the deluxe edition of Lifelines, I'm going to switch one half of the weekly tandem to some live bootleg performances, which I have a number of folders to work from. And given that I did a couple reactions from a concert they performed in Argentina in 1991, now a couple years ago, I figure I'll go back to that concert. Now, I jumped around, though I did react to I've Been Losing You, which is the first track in the folder, but then I reacted to The Sun Always Shines on TV, which is like halfway through the track list. But I figure I'll go back now to the second track and then just continue on through the rest of the concert. So, again, we're dealing with a bootleg performance, so of course the sonics and the recording quality is not like a professional release, but still, it's a way to experience different concerts from throughout their catalog, so I'm looking forward to this. And the second track in the playlist is Stay on These Roads. So yeah, it's a tune I've talked about a great deal and I've reacted to different versions of, so I don't need to give a lot of setup here. I will just say it's a very emotionally resonant tune, and of course, knowing that a number of fans in the Aha fandom will have similar attitudes in that regard, or their enjoyment of the tune might have an emotional resonance. It's the kind of track that I'm keen to hear how certain audiences react to. So let's give it a listen. This is Aha and a live performance of Stay on These Roads from a concert they did in Argentina in 1991.
Thank you. Still born by joy, and there's no need to these skies are strange, shadow.
to you guys. So, of course, it has that bootleg type of quality in terms of the sound. It, wasn't like mastered, or at least it didn't have the full like studio treatment after the live recording. But again, I think it sounds good enough that the experience of it is absolutely still worthwhile. And I was thinking during it, number one, it's the kind of tune that I think works especially well at the beginning or the end of a concert. Here, I think it's the second track in the performance, assuming that the track list is in the order that it was recorded or that it was performed. But yeah, it's the kind of tune that has such a rich emotional quality that it's either going to get the audience right into the show and like feeling the intensity of the show, or one that leaves everybody with this powerful, an intense emotional, what's the right word? Intense emotional state of mind, so that, one that they'll leave the concert just very whipped up by. So yes, it doesn't surprise me that it takes place right near the beginning of the concert, or alternatively right near the end. And this definitely feels like an embellished version. Number one, I think it's just longer than the album track by, a couple minutes maybe. How long was the... Obviously there was a little bit at the beginning, but it wasn't too long. Yeah, this is almost 8 minutes long. So, take off 30 seconds or whatever it was at the start, and it faded. They were still technically like, playing the instruments. So, yeah, definitely longer than the normal version of the tune, and there's certainly the guitar in the latter stages, or the last couple minutes, the like bluesy guitar flourish, that felt an embellishment above and beyond the album version. And even the like, that keyboard like secondary melody, which kind of has like a woodwind flute sort of element to it, even that felt like it hit a little bit differently in this performance. But of course, Morton's vocals maybe stood out to me more than anything else. There's just a couple moments here where he really lets it fly. And again, early 90s, thinking of the NRK recordings, like, this is an era when his vocals, I think, among a-ha fans are especially enjoyed and appreciated, even if, remembering some things people said, that it was maybe his vocal delivery and the just amount of performances they were doing during this phase that maybe, sort of caused a bit of a burnout in his vocals in later years and decades. But yes, there's definitely a flair and a power to his vocal delivery in this performance of the song. And there's one or two moments in particular where, I was dumbstruck by his vocal delivery, which, knowing Morton's voice for now a few years very significantly, and to a much lesser extent, going back to when I first heard Take On Me in my youth, it's still amazing to me how often, knowing the voice that I'm working with or that I'm experiencing, and how many times I've heard him sing songs, and even in particular, like specific songs, I can still be arrested by his vocal delivery, and that definitely happened a couple times here. You could hear how much the song, this performance, and maybe Morton's vocals in particular meant to the crowd. There's obviously a lot of like really young folk who you can hear just, squealing in delight when they get a sense for what song's playing, which is to say there's like a couple guitar strokes, and, knowing what song is coming from the title, it's like immediately I can hear what's coming. But there was a moment where, like, after 5 to 10 seconds of that, you can hear the melody proper come into the tune, and you can just hear the whole crowd erupt. So yeah, a really memorable performance, not only for us listening now, but certainly for those who were there. And ultimately, I'm looking forward to going through the rest of this concert. In the moment, I'm forgetting how many tunes are in here, but I want to say there's a lot. So yeah, there's 16 total, and we've now listened to 3 of them, so 13 more to go. And we have Cry Wolf, Slender Frame, but then one of my all-time favorites, Manhattan Skylines, coming right after that. So looking forward to the next few steps in this particular part of the tandem and journey at large. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.